Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for their testimony. I want to start off by letting you all know I have visited Taiwan on several occasions and am familiar with the important issues facing Taiwan and facing our bilateral relations and also our relations with China. But I am particularly familiar with how important Taiwan is to our nation as an ally. China's large military expansion throughout the past decade, I believe, poses a clear and present danger to Taiwan and the entire region, a threat that may have implications for the United States as well, as has been discussed here today. This administration, I believe as well, has clearly been pressured by the Chinese to control Taiwan and Taiwan policy in every way possible. I still find it unconscionable how our government refuses to allow any senior leaders of Taiwan's government into the United States and into Washington, D.C. China should never, I repeat, never be allowed to dictate our nation's foreign policy, and our lack of action when it relates to arms sales to Taiwan is a clear sign that the Chinese are pressuring us in order to further China's interests with respect to defense and foreign policy. As I have previously stated in this committee, it's important for the United States to stand with our allies. And I believe specifically in this case, with respect to this hearing, it's important to note that we must deliver those F-16s and the diesel submarines to Taiwan. Because the Chinese military poses a clear threat to the region, it's time that we commit to helping a great friend like Taiwan and act with them in providing them these defense systems that are critical to their national self-defense. So let me ask the panel, and I'll begin with Professor Tucker. Can you just spell it out for us in plain and simple terms? What is the thinking in the West Wing, the National Security Council? What is their thinking? Why won't they help Taiwan and deliver these weapon systems?
I can't speak for the administration.
What do you think their thinking is?
I do believe that the pressure from China is a significant factor, and it shouldn't be, as several people have mentioned. I think that there has been, over time, a sense that Taiwan is not important in comparison to what China can contribute in world affairs, and I think that that's a problem.
So they're basically throwing Taiwan under the bus because of the larger interest with China.
I wouldn't go quite that far. I do think, for instance, that the government spokesman who intended or perhaps should have been here today, Kurt Campbell and Derek Mitchell, are actually good friends of Taiwan and have promoted policies to help Taiwan in the past. So I wouldn't say we're throwing them under the bus, but I do think that on a value scale, there is a lot of concern about China's actions in the world.
Mr. Shriver, you've been in the belly of the beast. You know the process over there in the National Security Council and the State Department at the highest levels. In plain and simple terms, what are they thinking? Why won't they support Taiwan in these weapons system deliveries?
I agree with what Dr. Tucker said. I think there's a growing influence on the part of China in our decision-making. But I use this term, the tyranny of the calendar. Our administration seems to always look for the right time to have an arms sales announcement. And if you look at our calendar of activities, we've got the strategic and economic dialogue in May. We've got Vice President Biden visiting in July. We have Hu Jintao coming in September for the UN General Assembly. We have Xi Jinping. Well, guess what? There is no right time. And then they have to take into account the congressional schedule, because there are certain days that are required for a notification. And these things get backed up, and then the problem gets harder, not easier, because then the Chinese are looking at a much larger package because everything is backed up. So I think they've gotten themselves bollocksed up, and I think they need to just, I'm sorry, there's not a better way to say it, they need to be bolder and more courageous and deal with the Chinese fallout, because I think the historical data suggests we can absorb the fallout.
Well, it seems pretty clear from just the panelists I've heard that this administration is kowtowing to pressure for a variety of reasons from the Chinese, and hopefully they will reconsider those positions and stand by our ally Taiwan. I yield back, Madam Chair.